and I don't feel satisfied with the progress that we've made. We've got to get our Recovery Act money out faster. We've got to make sure that the programs that we put in place are working the way they're supposed to. I think, for example, our mortgage program has actually helped to modify mortgages for a lot of people. But it hasn't been keeping pace with all the foreclosures that are taking place. I get letters every day from people who say, you know, I appreciate that you put out this mortgage program. But the bank is still not letting me modify my mortgage and I'm about to lose my home. And then I've got to call my staff and team and find out why isn't it working for these folks. And can we adjust it? Can we tweak it? Can we make it more aggressive? This is a very, very difficult process. And what I've got to do is to make sure that we're focused both on the short term how can we provide families immediate relief and jumpstart the economy as quickly as possible, and I've got to keep my eye on the long term. And the long term is making sure that by reforming our healthcare system, by passing serious energy legislation that makes us a clean energy economy, by revamping our education system, by finally getting the financial regulatory reforms in place that are necessary for the 21st century. By doing all those things, we've got a foundation for long-term economic growth. And we don't end up having to juice up the economy artificially through the kinds of bubble strategies that help to get us in the situation that we're in today. Okay. I've got time for two more questions. April. Where's April? Q. Right here. President Obama, there you are. How are you? Q. I'm fine. Back on the economy, Mr. President, people are criticizing this road to recovery plan. Specifically, there are reports in the Washington Post that say that the African American unemployment rate will go to 20% by the end of this year. And then you had your chairman of economic advisors say the target intervention may come next year if nothing changes. Why not target intervention now to stop the bloodletting in the black unemployment rate? President Obama, look, first of all, we know that the African American unemployment rate the Latino unemployment rate, are consistently higher than the national average. And so, if the economy as a whole is doing poorly, then you know that the African American community is going to be doing poorly, and they're going to be hit even harder. And the best thing that I can do for the African American community or the Latino community or the Asian community whatever community, is to get the economy as a whole moving. If I don't hold on 1 second, let me answer the question if I don't do that. Then I'm not going to be able to help anybody. So that's priority number 1. It is true that in certain inner city communities, the unemployment rate was already sky high even before this recession. The ladders available for people to enter into the job market are even worse. And so we are interested in looking at proven programs that help people on a pathway to jobs. There was a reason why right before Father's Day I went to a program here locally in Washington called Year Up. Which has a proven track record of taking young, mostly minority people. Some of whom have graduated from high school, some maybe who've just gotten their GED. And train them on computers and provide them other technical skills, but also train them on how to carry themselves in an office. How to write an email, some of the social skills that will allow them to be more employable. They've got a terrific placement rate after this one-year program. If there are ways that we can potentially duplicate some of those programs, then we're going to do so. So part of what we want to do is to find tools that will give people more opportunity. But the most important thing I can do is to lift the economy overall. And that's what my strategy is focused on. All right. Last question. Suzanne. Q, thank you. Back to Iran, putting a human face on this. Over the weekend, we saw a shocking video of this woman, Nada, who had been shot in the chest and bled to death. Have you seen this video? President Obama, I have. Q, what's your reaction? President Obama, it's heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking. And I think that anybody who sees it, knows that there's something fundamentally unjust about that. Q. We also have people on the ground who have been saying that the streets are quieter now. And that is because they feel that they're paralyzed by fear of people gone missing. Fear of violence, that perhaps this is a movement that's gone underground or perhaps is dying. Do you have any concern over that? President Obama, yes. I have concern about how peaceful demonstrators and people who want their votes counted may be stifled from expressing those concerns. I think, as I said before, there are certain international norms of freedom of speech, freedom of expression. Q. Then why won't you allow the photos? President Obama, hold on a second, Helen. That's a different question. And I think it's important for us to make sure that we let the Iranian people know that we are watching what's happening, that they are not alone in this process. Ultimately, though, what's going to be most important is what happens in Iran. And we've all been struck by the courage of people. And I mentioned this I think in a statement that I made a couple of days ago. Some of you who had been covering my campaigns know this is one of my favorite expressions, was Dr. King's expression that the arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends towards justice. We have to believe that ultimately justice will prevail. All right. Thank you, guys. Barack Obama. Speech to a joint session of Congress on health care reform. Delivered September 9, 2009. Madam Speaker, Vice President Biden, members of Congress, and the American people. When I spoke here last winter, this nation was facing the worst economic crisis since the Great Depression. We were losing an average of 700. 000 jobs per month. Credit was frozen. And our financial system was on the verge of collapse. As any American who is still looking for work or a way to pay their bills will tell you. We are by no means out of the woods. A full and vibrant recovery is still many months away. And I will not let up until those Americans who seek jobs can find them, until those businesses that seek capital and credit can thrive. Until all responsible homeowners can. Stay in their homes. That is our ultimate goal. But thanks to the bold and decisive action we've taken since January, I can stand here with confidence and say that we have pulled this economy back from the brink. I want to thank the members of this body for your efforts and your support in these last several months. And especially those who've taken the difficult votes that have put us on a path to recovery. I also want to thank the American people for their patience and resolve during this trying time for our nation. But we did not come here just to clean up crises. We came here to build a future. So tonight, I return to speak to all of you about an issue that is central to that future, and that is the issue of healthcare. I am not the first president to take up this cause, but I am determined to be the last. It has now been nearly a century since Theodore Roosevelt first called for healthcare reform. And ever since, nearly every president and Congress, whether Democrat or Republican, has attempted to meet this challenge in some way. A bill for comprehensive health reform was first introduced by John Dingell Sr. in 1943. 65 years later, his son continues to introduce that same bill at the beginning of each session. Our collective failure to meet this challenge year after year. Decade after decade has led us to the breaking point. Everyone understands the extraordinary hardships that are placed on the uninsured. Who live every day just one accident or illness away from bankruptcy. These are not primarily people on welfare. These are middle-class Americans. Some can't get insurance on the job. Others are self-employed, and can't afford it. Since buying insurance on your own costs you 3 times as much as the coverage you get from your employer. Many other Americans who are willing and able to pay are still denied insurance due to previous illnesses or conditions that insurance companies decide are too risky or too expensive to cover. We are the only democracy, the only advanced democracy on earth, the only wealthy nation that allows such hardship for millions of its people. There are now more than 30 million American citizens who cannot get coverage. In just a 2-year period, 1 in every 3 Americans goes without health care coverage at some point. And every day, 14,000 Americans lose their coverage. In other words, it can happen to anyone.